Episode 13 of the Torque Factor podcast is here, and I'm your host, Scott Brown. This is a place where we discuss all things moving the automotive service industry forward, focusing on expanding knowledge and awareness around tools, equipment, education, and industry trends. This episode's featured guest is with Mr. Donny Seyfer, who is the Executive Director of the National Automotive Service Task Force. Over the past year, Donny and his team have worked hard on providing numerous new features benefiting NASTF members. Our discussion spanned across numerous topics, including the new NASTF website, the new Service Information Request System hosted by Diagnostic Network, vehicle security, upcoming events, and what's in the pipeline. VehicleServicePros.com is a trusted online resource for vehicle service and repair information, fleet maintenance management, and the latest products for servicing America's fleet of vehicles. It's the official website of Professional Tool and Equipment News, Fleet Maintenance, and Professional Distributor magazines. VehicleServicePros.com is on the pulse of the industry, sharing new technology, the latest product information, and market trends to keep our readers in the know-how. Okay, that brings us to our recall segment, sourcing the latest from the NHTSA.gov website. The first recall we have is from Hyundai, and on December 1st, 2020, Recall 20 Victor-746 was published, recalling approximately 130,000 vehicles. These vehicles range from the 2015 to 2016 Veloster with a 1.6-liter engine, the 2012 Santa Fe with a 2.4-liter engine, the 2011 to 2013 Sonata with a 2.4-liter engine, and the 2016 Sonata with the 2.0-liter found in the HEV hybrid version. What's happening here is that there's a potential failure of a connecting rod bearing that could result in a catastrophic event where the rod could break and breach the engine block, leading to, of course, a loss of propulsion, but more importantly, a potential engine fire. Hyundai Motor America plans to notify owners of affected vehicles to return their vehicles to the Hyundai dealer for an engine inspection. They will determine if there's any bearing damage, and if so, they will go ahead and replace the engine with a new one. And as an added level of protection, all affected vehicles will receive an enhanced engine control software update containing a new knock sensor detection system, or KSDS. The KSDS continuously monitors engine vibrations for unusual patterns and any of those that could potentially cause an abnormal condition such as a connecting rod problem that could lead to engine failure. The remedy of the procedure will be performed at no charge. All right, up next is Nissan, where on December 14th, 2020, Recall 20 Victor-759 was issued, potentially involving 7,500 2020 Titan pickup trucks. These vehicles are subject to a short circuit within part of the engine wiring harness, and this is due to an assembly issue with the wiring harness itself. The short is internal to the harness, where a grounded shield unprotected wire could potentially saw its way into other circuits, causing a short. Nissan service personnel have been issued specific inspection instructions and will either repair or replace the harness. Vehicle owners will begin receiving communications sometime late in January 2021. All right, that brings us to our case study segment. And this one comes from Diagnostic Network, and it comes via Bob Powell's Auto Repair out of East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. And Bob's post is titled Chrysler and Jeep APP Sensor Manual Relearn. A link to the entire post can be found within the show notes, so I encourage you to check that out. So what he discovered is that the vehicle here has a manual reset process that he was unable to surface via any of the conventional means of service information. The primary vehicle here is a 2017 Jeep Wrangler with the 3.6-liter ERB engine. The vehicle was shipped to him from another shop after they tried swapping out a few parts, including the APP. The vehicle arrived with a P2122, which is APP sensor circuit D low, and a P2127, which is APP sensor circuit E low. After he verified that the APP circuits appeared to be performing properly, he found that the DTCs would immediately reappear right after clearing. He also discovered in SI that if the APP is replaced, then an APP relearn procedure will need to be performed. So after trying several scan tools, he was still unable to execute the relearn procedure. He then proceeded to scour the web for answers and came across instructions illustrating how one can perform the relearn process without the use of a scan tool. The instructions read as follows: turn off all accessories, insert the key and turn to the run position without starting the engine. Wait for a ding. Once a ding sounds, fully depress the throttle pedal and hold it to the floor until the check engine light begins to flash. Continue to hold the throttle pedal to the floor until the light stops flashing. Turn the key off, release the throttle, and wait 2 minutes. After completing this process, he cleared the DTCs and found that his problem had been resolved. Now, within his post, he also described a similar situation he found on a 2012 Dodge Avenger with a DTC P0222. This is a throttle actuator performance DTC. This vehicle also came from another shop who had initiated repairs by replacing the throttle body twice. Bob proceeded to analyze the issue and quickly discovered 2 broken wires in the throttle body harness. After repairing the harness, this is where things took an interesting turn. The engine began to misfire, and it was due to the ECM dropping injector drive commands on 2 cylinders. At this point, he was thinking that there might be something going on with the ECM itself. But before he made the call on replacement, he decided to try the manual reset procedure for the APP again. This actually worked. And this is great information, in my opinion, and great knowledge to have. And if you're a diagnostic tech, you may want to tap into Diagnostic Network and make that part of your normal feed. And that brings us to our featured guest, Mr. Donny Seyfer from the National Automotive Service Task Force. So let's have a listen. Okay, folks, today we've got Donny Seyfer, who's the Executive Officer of NASTF, the National Automotive Service Task Force. So welcome to the call, Donny.
Great to be here.
Great to put some time aside. We're starting off a new year here. So I wanted to get you on a call and talk to you about what's new with NASTF. What's going on?
Well, we've been very busy. We functionally turned into a publishing company when the COVID thing started. And so we've been working on basically all of our customer-facing, if you will, pieces, website, secure data release model, and all of that. So we've been really busy. The NASTF site is released. If you have not seen it, it's a complete revamp of what we had originally. And it's organized by brand more than anything else, and by team for all of our committees that work on NASTF together. And you can choose which information you're interested in receiving from us. And in the next month or so, we'll start pushing email and text messages out of the system. We're kind of delaying that because there's so many changes going on. I don't want people overwhelmed by getting, well, whoops, I didn't know what I was doing, so I edited this message 3 times and you got a text every time I did it. So while we're learning to use the tools that we designed, we're not trying to wear our members out. But you can easily join NASTF. It's nastf.org. It's free. And you now have to have a membership and log in to use the site. Primary reason for that is that our bylaws require that we only serve U.S. and Canadian repairers, and we had about 6,000 international members, some of which were not there for good reasons. They weren't looking for information; they were looking how to hack into what we do. So we had to close that gap, and then also, when you log in, you can customize your view of the entire NASTF site and see only what you want to. So that's the big news. This other big news that goes along with the NASTF site is that we have partnered with the Diagnostic Network, who's built us a platform that we kind of call our service information request and community platform. I should have said it the other way around because that's where my brain was going. But it gives you an opportunity to share with other NASTF members And again, it's free. You can join this by being a NASTF member, and it's just an additional couple of clicks you make to get in there. But if you've got a service information request, these are now easily posted on that platform, and it's set up so that everybody can see it. Our previous system, you really had to go click around. It was old technology, but now Diagnostic Network has helped us made it very transparent, easy to post, and the real bonus, which is what our real goal was when we put this thing together, is that this information that we help a technician with now can benefit other technicians, and then it'll push back into the NASTF website under that brand. So when you're looking for information about a brand, it'll actually be chasing you around if you're interested in it. When it comes across to the NASTF side, we'll send you a text or email message, whichever you choose, and tell you that, hey, there's some new information on this brand that you like or that you work on. So those are the two really big things that we've got going on that are brand new.
Yeah, great. And I will try to add a little more to it. So, that is the power of community, so talking about the SIR platform, if you're watching and you're paying attention to what's going on there, and maybe you've got some information that you could share with somebody that's asking a question about a challenge that they're on, this is where you can, share that knowledge forward. And again, that knowledge can actually benefit somebody else in the future. So think about the visibility and how we're going to continue to move our service industry forward.
And you are so right about that. If I can add what you're saying, the intent of this was a lot of times service information requests come in that are not legitimately service information requests. They're not a gap, but they're a piece of information that a technician needs to complete a job. And our idea behind this, it's not to take away from Identifix and Diagnostic Network and all of those other forums that you're using. It's really to have a very focused area of service information, tool-related information, which has become so IT-driven lately, and training information so that our members can sort of in the houses we work in can really help one another. And so that to your point, that is exactly what we were trying to do, because not every SIR is legit, but it is a need that we're hoping we can have our community fill.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the other things I was going to mention on the new NASTF website. So now, you're logging in, you're creating your profile around the vehicles that you're working on. One of the really cool features, in my opinion, is just the automaker link, right? So you've customized it to the brands or the vehicles that I service. And when I click on that automaker link, I'm typically looking for, hey, where do I go to get the programming information, or where do I go to get service information, or what have you? One click now, and you've got a panel or a set of tiles for each OEM, and it's one click into all of the information: the service information link, scan tool data, support link, reprogramming. Great job there, Donny. I think I appreciate it, and I'm sure that others out there do as well.
Well, thank you. And the goal there was to have that automaker's tools available to you, because not every automaker does it the same way. Shock that, right? So we've got this cultural difference from one brand to the next. And so we're actually able to give you information about how that works. And as our committees and team service technology wraps their head around what we put together for them, I think you're going to see more and more of those. One brand, BMW, for example, I had a specialist friend of ours, Seth Thorson, who helped me with that. And I would say that's one of the most fleshed out pages to find information. And the brand managers also did a great job helping us. But a lot of times it takes a technician to go, oh, I use this all the time, because the brand managers don't always know that. And so we'll continue to add to that and make it more powerful for our members as our members participate. So join our team service technology calls and participate in those, because the automakers are there and they'd love to hear your feedback. And it's easy to do. You can actually just say, I'm interested in this team when you set up your preferences, and then every time we have any related calls or things that go out, you'll receive it. So that's the other thing we can do with this site that we could not do easily in the past.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how do they get involved with the team?
It's really easy. You don't have to send us an email or anything. You go into your account settings in the NASTF page, and when you pull yourself up, you'll see all the list of the teams. And if you click on a team, you'll be added to all the email that we put out on that team. And I should say email and text because we have both options. You can choose both one or the other or none. If you want to just go look for yourself, we're not going to bug you with communications if you don't want it. But you just click on that, and once you do that, it updates the preferences, which pushes over to our communications platform as a list. And then from there on out, you'll receive those until you click on it, which basically says, I don't want to receive it anymore. So it's very easy. We also put the times and dates of all of our calls on the NASTF calendar that's on the homepage. You can subscribe to that if you want, but frankly, our system is pushing to you, so you'll get notifications there. But we have a Google Calendar that you can subscribe to, and we aim to have all of the industry's events on that calendar. So, for example, ASC of California, we have all of their events. We take a feed from there, and you can find every one of their chapter meetings and team meetings on our calendar, and we do that for any association or group, including training groups that want to get their information out to the entire NASTF membership.
So if I'm a trade association, who do I reach out to get my calendar connected?
You can just click and send to our support team right off of the website, and Holly Wolf, our managing director, or I will probably both receive it. But Holly has been really the one spearheading this calendar project, and they will send it over to her. So it's really easy. Just say, hey, have Holly call me about or contact me about setting up our dates. A lot of people just send us their dates right through support. Support forwards them. We put them in, and off you go.
Awesome. Hey, that's great. So I know that you've got your ear to the ground on a number of channels out there in the marketplace, and I know that you work very, very closely with a lot of automakers. What can you tell us, or what can you share with us about anything that might be interesting that's on the horizon coming our way that might be affecting our daily workload? Well,
there are obviously constantly things going on, and some of which are not far enough down the road to talk about. Others are. But I will tell you that right now we've got a number of automakers working on a project that's going to bring a whole new level of information to repairers. We haven't completely defined what that information is, but I promise you, when we do a little training on it, you're going to go, oh my God, is this cool? And you'll basically receive it through being a NASTF member, and we are going to make it so that it's easy to do, and there's not much involved in setting up your shop so that you can get effectively diagnostic information that has been really hard for us to capture before. It's been available to dealers, but they've never used it. And I promise the automakers, our guys will know what to do with this. So, and if they don't, we're going to teach them. So I've got training materials going together, and we expect to be showing you these things probably because of all the delays we have and the fact that I can't fly to a lot of them right now. We're probably going to be talking late spring, but we've got some really cool projects going on there. Also, we are about to release a new pilot program that will allow shops who do not have let's say a good reason to become a vehicle security professional. That may be that you don't have somebody in the shop that's willing to take the lead on that, or you just don't do enough transactions that you can rationalize going to that level. We're working on a project right now that will allow folks that are additionally vetted by NASTF to support those operations when you need them in like a peer-to-peer environment. So it'll be completely secure, but it will allow you to be able to do those transactions. This does not include keys. This is for immobilizers. This is for repair shops and technicians. to really be able to complete some of those operations that can be extremely difficult, but are technically under the hat of a vehicle security professional. So we're just about done with that. We've beta tested it, and we're going to do a pilot for a few months with just a very small number of vendors. It's not to make any winners. It's to make sure that if there are problems, we've got companies who know how to document them and we can get them fixed. And then we'll start figuring out how to release this capability to additional mobile diagnosticians and some of the remote program companies that are out there right now. So I'm very excited about that. I think it is going to completely change what, for example, in a small town, I get 3 Volvos I work on. How am I going to fix this Volvo because I don't want to tool up for it? This kind of a scenario would be exactly what this thing is aimed at. Maybe you work on one brand all the time, but you've got a good customer who has a car that you don't work on very often. You're not tooled up for it. How can I get some outside assistance with the more security-related items? And that's where we're going with this. And the automakers have already signed off on it. So we're pretty excited about this.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm on the edge of my seat wondering about that other piece, the first part that you talked about. So as soon as you're ready to...
Good, I did it right then.
Yeah, as soon as you're ready to give us a hint or a clue or feed us some more intel, please let me know, and I'd like to get that out. So thank you for that. So let's move on to another part here. We talked in the beginning, we talked about that SIR process, that service information request process, and that's part of NASTF's mission is to identify gaps in serviceability issues, right? Whether there's missing info or I can't access certain data. What is the current trend, or are there any highlights right now of SIRs that have been coming through the system that you'd like to talk a little bit about?
Well, yeah, there have been some brands that we get more than anybody else. Mercedes-Benz, I get more than anybody else. They're well aware of it. There are a lot of times Mercedes just doesn't communicate well. For those who recently bought their J2534 package, they came out with a new website literally 2 days before we launched the NASTF site. I didn't know anything about it, so I had to go scrambling, and I had people sending me emails saying, I can't get into the site, it doesn't work, and all these features are missing. Well, they were there, but you had to go through quite a little deal to get registered and get it to work. And they came out with, we've got this new, well, it's not new, but our J2534 package. And they said that you'd have it in 5 days. Well, turns out that wasn't the case at all. It was 3 months. And so I've got people very upset because, well, they've spent a big chunk of money and they can't use this 2534 scan tool package. And that kind of thing with automakers is a significant challenge. Now, on the other side of that coin, the exact same brand, their theft relevant parts program, they are, for lack of a better way to put it, Johnny on the spot. If there's any little tiny problem, we had to shut a couple of VSPs down for violating the terms of the program, but we didn't feel that they really violated them, but by the letter of the rules, they did. So we went back to Mercedes and said, can we come up with a way to solve this? And they did. So, it's kind of both sides of the coin. So that's a big challenge for us. We're also seeing some of the brands that have older scan tools that are still very viable for us, but no longer useful to dealers, are having no supply. And when one is needed, even if you can write the check, they're having a hard time providing it. I haven't gotten to the bottom of why, but a lot of times it has been quite a challenge getting one of those tools. And we're months out trying to get a tool into a technician's hands. Well, that doesn't work very well when you need to repair the car. But several of the automakers that have that situation have been good about helping us out. They mail a scan tool or they do something to get us by. But, I don't know if the cause is because of, international supplies or what the situation is, but that's been a challenge. And of course, I mean, it's been like musical chairs at the automakers, people switching positions, people getting laid off, changing their focus and snagging somebody out of the technical department to move them over to another department. And the continuity has been a significant challenge with many automakers. And so we've had a lot of changes in who we talk to, and we're actually doing a meeting with automakers in the next few days to teach them what NASTF does and how it works, because I don't even recognize a lot of the names on the spreadsheet I use to find them now.
Yeah, and that's got to be a tough. You explained or you illustrated the fact that the poor communications between, say, Mercedes. You would have thought that, hey, if they're ready to launch this J2534 feature, they would have the people in the marketplace that really understand what's going on there up to speed with, hey, we're launching a new website. Especially for NASTF. So that kind of blows me away. But the explanation on that could be new personnel, people cycling through, and they don't quite understand the entire landscape of how this very sophisticated field that we're operating in, performs. So, yeah, it's a challenge, and one of the other things that I was just thinking about, we're talking about the VSPs, right? And typically, I think that most of the people that are in the VSP program are typically people that are doing a lot of key stuff, right? Key security related. But as we have seen, there's a lot more equipment being piled onto these cars over the last, 5 to 10 years. And it's continuing to exponentially grow, and a lot of those features are supporting, the autonomous vehicle type stuff, right? We're on that road to that full self drive or what have you, but we've got these items on the car that help assist that, and some of the automakers are now putting those behind, say, a firewall or what have you. So tell me what you can about that. And then, I think that this is something that the general repair shops like me, like my shop, we need to be aware of that. We are a VSP, but I think there's a lot of shops out there like mine that may not be aware of the VSP and be aware that, hey, some of the automakers are probably going to start putting their things behind a locked door. And how do you get the key for that door? Well, you can go through the VSP program. So can you tell me a little bit more about, why a repair shop would want to look at the VSP?
Yeah, there's actually a really great piece that we did at our general meeting on the NASTF website, where Matt Fanslow and I talked about some of the things that you can do with a vehicle security professional ID, some of which I didn't even know. And I've been doing this for a while, but that is a evolving situation. Back in 2018, I presented to a large group of our automakers, let's say the top 10 or 12 production-wise in the country, that we have the ability to help a little bit further than just securing your website access with the VSP ID. Because what we use it for right now is when you log into the NASTF SDRM, or you log into an automaker's website, they make a call to NASTF over the internet and say, is this VSP up to speed? Is he good to go? Can we let him into the site? Can we give him a key code? And then NASTF site responds back, yes or no, based on the current situation. So the whole idea behind this thing was because we don't have licensing, we don't really have a way to say, this is a known entity. This allows you to become a known entity and in a trust bubble with the automakers. And so what we've done with this program is several automakers have used it to do things that even we didn't think they would do, but now that we've got it out there, it's pretty cool. So for example, Ford has to open up their whole bus effectively, the whole CAN bus, to be able to do some of the what would seemingly not be a security operation, like reprogramming a radar sensor. And that opens up the whole bus. So Ford said, well, the only way we want to do that is if we can know who was in there. And we want to open that bus up for a technician who's vetted and, so on and so forth. So they require, when you log in, use of the VSP ID and our 2 form factor code that we use to get in the website effectively becomes a password. So it changes all the time, which is to help validate that, the person doing the work is actually the person who's logged in. And that is just one of multiple things that you can do with that. Mercedes-Benz theft relevant parts I mentioned. If you work on Mercedes, you'll actually find that there are many parts that you need that are part of this TRP program. And we're not here as NASTF to tell them what should be and what shouldn't be in that program. Occasionally I try to do that, but it doesn't always work for me. But we're really there to say, okay, this technician is validated at this shop. We're not validating the shop. I mean, we are effectively, but it's an individual ID that you can take with you from place to place, if you have to move. And so that's the idea, is to vet that individual so that that individual is responsible for the transaction that they do, whether it be a key code to be able to cut a new key for our locksmith partners, or it's immobilizer access, bus access. And so more automakers are starting to look at that as a way to go, because it's the same thing each time, as opposed to having, basically 30 different ways to get into the CAN bus, which, how frustrating that can be. So we're encouraging automakers to do that. And if you're in a position to talk to them, or you're listening to this and you're involved with them in that way, our security is top notch. And our VSPs, there are no car thefts coming out of the program anymore, period. It's being very well run by people that know this stuff. And so it's really a great way. Plus, a lot of times our VSPs we find out something about them that they didn't know about themselves, and we're able to share that, and they're able to fix some weird piece of history that they have. Can't tell you how many times that happens.
Yeah, that's great. Great thanks for sharing that. And it is. You're going to find some unexpected things coming down the road. I can tell you that I was doing a class here, an ADAS calibration class, and we had rented a brand new Ford Ranger truck, a 2020 Ranger truck, and we're going through some things, and we found that in order to get to the radar sensor, we had to basically log in with our NASTF credentials. And I thought, wow, that was the first. I didn't know about it. But fortunately, I have my credentials, and I was able to get into it. If I didn't have those credentials, well, this car probably would have had to go to the dealer. And the process, it is quite involved, because you are authenticating a shop, right? You're doing a background check, verifying that they have all the pieces in place, coverage for insurance and licensing, local licensing, business and what have you. But it is something that, if you're a next generation shop or planning on working on these cars in the future, you better look heavily into the VSP stuff and get yourself set up, because it will make things run much, much smoother. Because this isn't something you can turn on overnight, right? What's that process like? No,
right now, if you get all the documentation right on the first try, and we have a 60-70% do, we can turn these applications in about 7 to 10 days. Sometimes it's a little faster, sometimes it's a little slower. It really depends upon how many renewals we've got going each month, because our renewals are not steady. We have certain months where we have, like I have 200 this month, and next month I've got 80. So, next month will be faster, is effectively how it works. But so it takes a little bit of time, and our background check that we do is not like any background check in any industry. And it's not because we're going over the top. It's because we have developed ways with our partners to find information that's out there freely and amass it into a profile. And you'd be surprised the things that we find. So the people that are in this program, they're the real deal. They're people you can trust to work on your car. And that's what the automakers wanted to hear when this program was developed jointly between NASTF and ALOA and ASA and the automakers. And And we are now at that level. Also, all of the data out of our system is also fed to NICB, which is the National Insurance Crime Bureau, who investigates and assists with theft and insurance-related fraud and that sort of thing. And so we work directly with them as well. So there's some pretty powerful information gathering capability behind you. And so our goal is to protect you as much as it is to protect the vehicle owner. But at the end of the day, we answer to the vehicle owner, both as the automakers and NASTF and as the technician. Are you taking care of my data? Because once an immobilizer code is out there, published on the internet, or a key code is published out there on the internet, that car is technically never secure again.
Yeah, that is, it's quite honorable, though, to have the OEMs engaged with NASTF and now credentialing end users, independent users, to basically get the same access that an OEM dealer technician would have to, do different security things, whether it's just replacing a module or it's replacing keys and doors or what have you. So that is awesome, and I'm very pleased, one, to be part of the NASTF effort, but to see it actually produce fruit and help the industry move forward. So thank you.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to do it.
Yeah. So, all right. So what's the next, what's happening next for NASTF? Do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to let our listeners know about?
It appears that pretty much all of the conferences we were going to attend will either be virtual or canceled. So that means also the training events. We are still hopeful that we'll be able to do a live event in Austin, Texas with ETI, AMRA, and NASTF. This would be our traditional general meeting and board meeting. It's looking like we might see some of the vaccine rollouts really not get to the general public until as late as June, heaven forbid. But that could put this thing off. So Holly and I have already decided that we're going to do another one of our online general meetings, and we're a little limited in how many. Some of the things that we like to do at general meetings, they work really great person to person, and that networking opportunity, we've really missed that last year, because it's great to be able to walk in a room, talk to the representative from the automaker that does the things that you're interested in, and get some of the feedback, because I learn a lot from those. And I was the one that said, hey, could you talk about this? And then they do it, and you're like, wow. So, we're doing our best to try to facilitate some of that, but those are the meetings within the meeting that you just can't duplicate online. But we are going to do another general meeting online, as we've done the last two. The turnout has been fantastic. I'd love to see it double, but we've had really great turnout. And so that's our next thing. And it's technically slated for, a general meeting is technically slated for the 25th of May. And so I would imagine that if we cannot do the live, that we'll do it on that date. If we can do the live, it's kind of got an ETI AMRA focus. So I think we'll still do an online one for the shops. I've just been really pleased with the feedback and the types of discussion that we've had. And so I'd like to continue to do that, because it's just hard for some folks to travel. And right now it's almost impossible unless you really know the ins and outs of traveling. I was in your city last week, and that was no easy task. It was almost easier to get in and out of China.
Yeah, crazy. So on the ETI event, if the ETI event happens and NASTF can travel to this event and hold a live meeting, you're talking about creating a second meeting that would be more for the aftermarket, to do that one virtually.
Yeah, more tech related, because when we do these others, I've always had to build the meetings around who's going to be in the room. And, when you've got automakers getting on airplanes and going places, which I don't think is going to happen, to be honest with you, in May, you want to be able to do something that's interesting to them. So a lot of times we have the aftermarket put on presentations about what we're doing and what we're interested in, so that we can keep that conversation going. But when we do these, when it goes the other way, and our audience is primarily technicians, well, we want to talk about what the automakers are doing. So I really think we're going to just continue to do this. We've kind of learned how to do it, and we're not sophisticated by any means, but we can put cameras up and we can turn microphones on, and it doesn't have to be fancy to share information. So we may not even wait until May, because we've got some of these other things that are come online, and I'm hoping they come online sooner than that meeting. So if they do, I really want to be able to go out there and show everybody how it works. So we'll see, but tentatively we will be doing something on the 25th. I'm just not sure exactly what it will be at this point.
Okay, great. All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners about NASTF before we close out?
I would just say, if you haven't joined, or you think you already joined before, you didn't, because we moved the site. And when we moved the site, we were originally going to migrate everybody, and we had so many email bounces that we just said, this isn't worth it. So we started over. So if you've got an old membership to NASTF, rejoin. It really literally will take you less than 5 minutes. The site is very streamlined. It's not like our old application at all. And you'll be noticing some new features that you'll be able to add to your account. So when we send you an email and say, hey, go check it out, please do, because we are adding new features so that you'll be able to receive some of the new stuff that's coming down the road, and join some of the other projects that we're working on. So NASTF.org, and please join a team. It's sad that we get 20 or 30 automakers on a phone call and we have 2 technicians. There's your opportunity right there. They want to hear what you have to say, and they want you to participate. And what does it say to them about the aftermarket's give a damn if there's only 2 technicians on the call and one of them is our co-chair?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're here to listen. I mean, they want to understand. They realize that their vehicles are out on the road for a long period of time, right? What is it? It's almost 12 years is the average age of that car. Mm-hmm. And, most consumers, 70% of the consumers out there basically move their vehicle out of the service dealer after it's out of warranty. And they want those customers to have a good experience. So if you're there, involved, get engaged and provide your input, because they are definitely listening.
Yeah, the men and women we work with at these automakers they're top-notch people. I've not found anybody that I work with that has not been very cooperative with NASTF and with our members. And it's a huge opportunity you're missing to just even be able to hear them, because it'll change your perspective on repairing cars when you hear what their challenges are.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, thank you, Donny, again for joining me on this call to get an update on NASTF, and I look forward to hearing the next level and hearing about that other stuff, that project that you guys are working on about information, diagnostic information or what have you. So I look forward to an update on that as well. So thank you.
My pleasure, Scott. Thank you.
That brings us to the Industry Events Roundup. P10 Motor Age, ABRN, and VehicleServicePros.com will be presenting the Vehicle Repair Virtual Training Summit starting Wednesday, January 20th, 2021, offering on-demand access to 40-plus training courses for 45 days at one low price. Visit VehicleServicePros.com/Virtual Training Summit to register today. The Vision High Tech Training and Expo has announced its 2021 event will transition from an in-person event to a virtual event. The 6-day training event will span across 2 weeks, consuming 3 days each week. The event will start on Tuesday, March 2nd, and will conclude on Thursday, March 11th. Visit visionkc.com for more information.
Hello, Newman.
This feedback was provided by Rudy M. in Southern California about Episode 5 with Bob Grzinski on OBD communications and regulations. Scott, just got the chance to listen to this. Very informative. Thanks. I'm still a little unclear on UDS. Gonna Google it. Well, we thank you, Rudy, for your feedback. And if you'd like to submit yours, please drop us a note in our mailbag at podcast@vehicleservicepros.com. Now that brings us to the end of the show, and we hope we were able to bring you some quality content. And we thank you for joining us. And we'd love to get your feedback. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on topics or guests, please drop us a note in our mailbag. podcast@vehicleservicepros.com.